everybody, today we're going to be making a fennel citrus cream sauce. We're going to be pairing that with a little bit of braised Swiss chard, and we're going to do a pan-seared barramundi with that. Alright, so first things first, we've got some nice fennel. It's a little bit smaller than what I usually have, but this is locally grown. What we're going to do is we're just going to cut off the stems. We can leave those for other things. We could make some salads, some dressings, different applications of that. So all we're going to do is we're going to remove this bottom part. I have rinsed them already, but we are going to rinse them again one more time. Make sure they're clean. They do come from the ground. All right, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to roast the fennel. We're going to just do a rough chop on them. I have about two good-sized pieces of fennel. So I have one orange, I have a little bit of onion, some lemon, and some garlic. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to just cut it right down the middle. This here. And let's see, I can still see a little bit of dirt in there. So we'll remove those pieces. So we're just going to rough chop. And as soon as you cut into the fennel, you'll smell the wonderful anise flavors that it has. This is a wonderful vegetable. So we're just rough chopping that. We got that down here. We got 3 cloves of garlic. We're going to just put that. We can keep that. We can either keep that whole because it's whole, or we can mince it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it whole because what we're going to do is once we roast everything, we're actually going to puree it. We'll take about half of this onion here. Take the skin off. All right, so we got a half an onion. We're just going to rough chop this. Like I said again, if it was going to be cooked with other things, I would cut everything about the same size. But since we're just going to roast and puree, we're just going to rough chop. So we got our fennel here. We got about a half of onion. We got 2 cloves of garlic. All right, we're going to place our pan on medium heat there. We're going to let it get warm a little bit. Got a zester. We're going to use the juice and the zest of the citrus, of the orange and the lemon here. So what we want to do is we want to get this pan nice and hot. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of olive oil. Let that swirl around a little bit. Let that get nice and hot. All right, so we got our pan nice and warm. We're going to add our fennel. Let that get nice and hot. We're going to also add our half of onion. This is a small onion. And we're going to add 2 cloves of garlic. You just want to make sure that you get a nice roast on them. I can smell the fennel. It smells really nice. While we're waiting for that to roast, we're going to take our citrus. First of all, let's get our zest. We're going to get about half of this orange and half of the lemon zest. Just about a tablespoon there. We'll add that there. Go ahead and take our lemon. You want to make sure that you don't push all the way down. You just want to get the release a little bit of the oils and get that zest. Again, that was about a tablespoon. Cut this in half. Keep on roasting this. As you can see, we have a nice color on the fennel. We're just going to take a little of this Fennel, probably about 2 tablespoons of it. We're just going to deglaze a little bit here. This actually has a little bit more anise, so the anise flavor will be a little bit more intensified there. So we're actually just deglazing all the flavors that we had onto the pan. Smells wonderful. Now we're going to add about a tablespoon of herbs de Provençal. They'll open up really nice with the deglazing here. I usually add herbs at the beginning, but with this being dry herbs, we want to concentrate more on the roasting. The herbs just kind of accent the flavors here. They're not part of the actual ingredient. So we're going to take this lemon, start putting our citrus in there. It smells wonderful. Take our orange. It's okay if you can't get the whole thing in there. Just want to get some of the juices in there. So basically now what we have is we're making a stock with this fennel. We're going to add a 1/3 cup of white wine. And what we're going to do is we're just going to let that reduce, what they call al sec. It's just going to reduce and concentrate the flavors. We're going to let it get down about a third of it down. And we're also going to let the vegetables also cook and soften. And then once we do that, we're going to just incorporate our heavy cream. We got a cup of heavy cream that we're going to add to it. And then we're actually going to just take the whole mixture and we're going to puree it. We have not added any salt or pepper because what we want to do is we want to make sure that we get a nice consistency of the puree of the cream sauce, and then we will season at the end. We've reduced a little bit down. You can see it'll start getting a little bit of a dark color. We will get a little bit of orange tint to it from the orange and from the lemon zest. We're good to go. We're going to add a cup of cream. So we have a nice consistency on our vegetables. Our cream has thickened a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to put this in the blender. You want to make sure that you get all of it. It smells really nice, very aromatic. I can smell the fennel. I can smell a little bit of the garlic, the herbs de Provençal. So we're actually going to put this on the blender here. Make sure we cover it really nice. Always be careful when you're blending hot stuff. So we're just going to cover this. We're going to start off slow and work our way up. And that should be good. So now we take another pan and we're just going to strain this off. Make sure that we don't have any lumps. Smells wonderful. I know I keep saying that, but it does. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to discard these, so you get a lot of the puree what we're going to do is we're going to actually let that reduce a little bit. You can also take just a little bit of water because we're actually going to reduce that anyways. If you want too much, not too much, just to get what you can out of the blender. This is a sauce that takes a little bit of while, but is definitely worth it. Definitely complements the fish. So we have fennel in here, we have garlic, we have onion, we have cream, white wine, a little bit of Fennel, some herbs that put with salt. You can always make the sauce ahead of time as well. I usually keep some of this in containers. You can use it for a lot of different things, but I guess that would be a different chapter on this video. All right, so the reason that we are straining all this out is because we don't want any pulp in there. We want to make sure that we get the flavors, we don't want the pulp. Try to get as much through there as we can. So we have this nice, really nice kind of stock, cream stock that we made with the fennel and the citrus. You smell the citrus. We're just going to add this to the stove and we're just going to let it reduce a little bit. Very nice. Get a little bit of the sweetness from the citrus. The fennel comes out really nice and strong. The herbs help it really nice. We're going to season it at the end. We're going to wait until season it. So we're just going to let it reduce a little bit. At the end, we can finish it with a little bit of butter. It'll give it a nice shine. But for now, we're just going to let it go. We have this beautiful Swiss char that we're going to braise. That's going to be our vegetable for the fish dish. We have the other half of the onion and then 1 clove of garlic that we're going to use as well. We're going to use a little bit of sherry vinegar and a little bit of white wine as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this nice and hot. The secret to making a good braise is making sure that you get a nice sear on whatever you're braising. We are going to keep the stems because I do like the color of the stems, and they're also gives a little bit of crunch to it. Most of the time, people will just take the stem off. We're actually going to cut against it, and we're going to make little bunches. Okay, so we're going to add a tablespoon of olive oil. We're going to julienne this onion. All right, so we're gonna just make small julienne cuts or slices of, I wouldn't call them julienne because they're not precise, but they're gonna be nice sliced pieces. We take that half onion. We're gonna take this garlic, cut it right in half, and then we're just going to make small slices as well. That's gonna accent a little bit of the flavor on the braise. So we got little, not really minced, but almost sliced garlic. So we're gonna put the garlic there, and we put this half onion here in our bowl. And then I've already washed this Swiss char. Get some nice color. And we're just going to rough chop it. We're going to braise this, but since this Swiss char has a lot of bitterness to it, we have to balance it out with a little bit of sugar and a little bit more of acidity, and that's where the sherry vinegar comes in, and the white wine. And then again at the end we're going to add salt and pepper. Usually most dishes I usually season before. This we're going to adjust as we go. So we have our pan nice and hot. We have our Swiss char. Looks beautiful. We're just going to throw it right in there. this will actually get smaller as it cooks. It'll cook down. Get a nice spoon here. So you just want to get a nice heat on there. As soon as it starts cooking down, we're going to add our onions and garlic. So it's starting to cook down a little bit. You can use bacon to bring that down, but I think what we want to do is we just want to keep the flavor of the vegetable here. If you were to use bacon, you would cook the bacon first, use that same grease from the bacon to cook the Swiss chard down. Okay, so we're going to add our half our onion, our garlic. Again, with the herbs de Provençal, we're just going to add about a tablespoon. Beautiful. We're going to get about 2 tablespoons of sherry. Got some nice color there. We got some Chardonnay here, just a cheap Chardonnay. We got about a half cup to a cup here, and we're just going to let it cook down. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of sugar to balance out the bitterness and the vinegar. It's really important that you add just a little bit of sugar. So it smells really nice. I can smell the vinegar, I can smell the wine, the Swiss chard's looking really nice. All we're gonna do is cover that. I got the oven at 400 degrees. I'm just gonna put that down here. And we're just gonna let this cook. This will take about 20 minutes. Okay, now we're looking at our sauce. Our sauce is thickening. It's looking nice. Okay, like I said, I wasn't going to add any salt or pepper because I was going to wait until the sauce thickened a little bit. I got a nice flavor from the citrus, really nice. A little bit of sweetness from the sugars, from the natural sugars of the citrus. I'm still going to let that reduce a little bit, and then I will season a little bit of salt. Usually with cream sauces, you want to use white pepper. I'm going to keep with just a little bit of salt. So now we're going to get to the Barramundi. It's a nice, beautiful, firm fish. Really nice and clean. White fish, beautiful. This is actually, it's not fresh. I've had it frozen. But it is beautifully fresh, but I mean, it'll still work. Okay, so one of the things is we want to make sure we take the skin off. So all you do, make sure you have a sharp knife, and you're just going to go down and grab about an inch off the back, and you're just going to follow with your knife and let the knife do the work. And just slowly push down. And there's the skin. I am going to cut a little bit off the belly, just because presentation is very important to me. Okay, so we just got a little bit off the belly. There are no bones on this fish, which you always want to make sure that you check for. So most people like to do a batter on their fish. I do not want to do any batter, or they do like a flour mixture. I like to get a nice skin off of it, but I like to use just the skin of the fish. So we're basically going to just do salt and pepper. Make sure we season both sides. And then usually, something that's very important, the skin side is always, I always present it down. I always present the other side as my main presentation part. So we're going to take a pan, a nice pan, good size, about 10 to 12 inch pan. Now the secret is to get in a good sear on the fish is you want to make sure that your pan is nice and hot. We're going to add about a tablespoon of olive oil. Our sauce is reducing really nicely. Nice little cream sauce. It's starting to get a little bit of a yellow, kind of orangey look to it. All right, so our pan is nice and hot. We have a tablespoon of olive oil in there. Our pan is nice and hot. We're going to add a half a tablespoon of butter. And the butter actually starts cooking at a lower temperature. So what'll happen is when you add the fish, it'll help it give that nice sear look to it. And you'll also get a nice, like I call a brown butter to it. So we want to get that right on there. All right, so our butter is turning a little bit brown. It's good. We want to get, that's what's going to help us get a nice sear on the fish. All you're going to do is you take your spatula, flip it over. Look at that beautiful skin on there. Beautiful skin. We're just going to throw this in the oven. About 3 minutes at 400 degrees, and that should finish cooking the fish. All right, so our sauce is reduced down really nicely. I don't feel that it needs a lot. I don't think it needs any pepper. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt, and the salt actually will just bring out the flavors of the actual sauce. Very nice. So it brings out the citrus a little bit there. You can let that sit. If you wanted to get a really nice shine on your sauce, but I think it looks fine the way it is, you just would add a little bit of butter. It'll give it a little bit more richness. We have a clean cutting board here, and we're actually just going to work on our garnish. So we're going to cut a couple wheels. Actually, we'll just get away with one. Just kind of cut a wheel, and we're going to make a little section out of it. Cut a little section out. Is you got to make sure that you're always making adjustments as you cook. You know, with cooking, sometimes you just have to taste as you go. So I have 3 spoons here. I have a fork. I'm going to taste the braised kale before we plate. I tasted the sauce. I just added a little bit of salt. You can add pepper to it if you want. I think it's fine the way it is. All right, so our fish has been in there about 3 minutes. Got a beautiful color on there. Our braised Swiss chard. Look at that. Smells great. I can smell the vinegar. I can smell a little bit of the white wine. Very good. This does need a little bit of salt. Salt and a little bit of pepper. So because you have the different acidities and the sugar, you have to adjust the seasoning. But it's cooked perfectly. So I'm gonna put some of this Swiss chard right in the middle. We're actually going to put our sauce. Make sure you have a nice clean presentation. So we have our barramundi. It is perfectly cooked. You can always touch it if you want to make sure it's all the way cooked. You'll start getting a little bit of texture on the top of the fish. We got a beautiful sear on that. You just put it right on top. There. Micro basil that I have from my garden. We're just going to put that. And we're just going to set it in between our lemon. And there you have it. We have a pan-seared barramundi with braised Swiss chard and a roasted fennel citrus sauce. It's beautiful. So we're going to try this barramundi. So we pan-seared barramundi with braised Swiss chard with a nice roasted fennel and citrus cream sauce. We get a beautiful, nice sear on the fish, nice and soft and crispy at the end. Gotta get a little bit of this Swiss chard, the sauce. Fennel is phenomenal. The braised Swiss chard gives a nice crisp flavor. I pair this with a nice glass of Chardonnay. This is what summer is all about. This is really nice, easy, clean. I know it's a little bit of work to do the sauce, but it's definitely worth it. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's fun. It was a lot of fun cooking. Thank you very much.